Welcome back to another Pulse of Israel, Israel at War update here in our ancestral and eternal homeland, the land of Israel, in our eternal, beautiful, and indivisible capital, Jerusalem, since King David's time. I want to start with some inspiration from the war effort in Gaza. Watch this. This is happening all over the Gaza Strip, where we, the IDF, are conquering and finding every single home, school, medical center, etc., filled with war items, whether RPGs and guns, or tunnel entrances for Hamas terror tunnels, or other terror-supported related stuff. Our soldiers are seeing with their own eyes how every family in Gaza basically supported Hamas in one way, shape, or form. And hence, we, Israel, the IDF, have to destroy as much of the buildings as we can in Gaza in order to get rid of this terror infrastructure to ensure a safe future for all Israelis. The bottom line message from our holy IDF soldiers on the front line to our enemies is simple. Do not mess with the Jews. And if you do mess with us, be prepared to pay the price, like the blowing up of these communities. The world should let them willingly leave to pro-Hamas countries, because those Gazans obviously can't handle living close to us Jews without wanting to kill us, despite how much good we do for them. So let them leave, as they for sure want to leave since their homes are no longer livable. So let them leave to go to pro-Hamas countries. Since I brought up that topic, let's move on to that issue more in depth. But before I do, understand this. Even though most of the attention in the war has been on the war in Gaza, Israel is basically fighting a daily war against Hezbollah on our northern border every day. It's just on a low flame and not, or hardly, in the media. What does that mean? Well, every day Hezbollah is destroying by rockets homes in Israeli communities and shooting at IDF positions on the northern border. And just yesterday, Hezbollah shot at a special IDF Air Force base up north. That is a serious attack. That is why the whole northern border is evacuated, with so many tens of thousands, 100,000 plus northern Israelis evacuated right now across the country. While the U.S. is trying to pressure Israel into appeasing Hezbollah's aggression, I believe that we will have a full-fledged war up north as well, not just in Gaza. Because only by destroying Hezbollah will Israelis up north be able to return to their homes without fear of Hezbollah attacks similar to what Hamas did to us down south. So let's now go back to talk about Gaza. Little by little, the Israeli establishment media is talking about the day after the war. It hasn't been finished yet, but that's what they're talking about. And believe it or not, they are pushing Israel to go to elections in the middle of the war, because the establishment media doesn't like the direction this government might move in for the day after. So they prefer to have the center-left bring down the government and push Israel to elections in the middle of a war, thinking that their center-left parties, led by Benny Gantz, who are people that still today believe in the same failed security policies that led to the October 7th tragedy, that they will win an election and hence continue leading Israel down the path of appeasement. Yes, that's what our establishment media wants. What do many Israelis want? Well, many Israelis want to ensure that all Israelis from down south can move back to their homes, and all Israelis from up north can move back to their homes. And that will only happen if Israel is in total control of the Gaza Strip for down south. And many Israelis are openly supporting for Gazans to be able to leave Gaza. An idea that the establishment media and the center-left parties hate, because it makes Israel look bad in the PR war. They care more about the PR war than actually saving lives of Israelis. I want to ensure everyone understands that the only path to victory in Israel is Israel returning to resettle the Gaza Strip with Jews, because there is no victory without us doing that. This isn't Avi Abelo saying this, but former IDF commander Amir Avivi, the head of the Bitchonistim organization, who I've interviewed plenty of times on the Pulse of Israel. He explained in the Knesset last week that the only path to victory is ensuring that we, Israel, never allow an Arab-Muslim terror society to develop in Gaza ever again. And then he explained the different options and why Jewish resettlement of Gaza, together with an IDF presence, is the only solution that works. He described how there are basically 3 different security solutions, of which 2 have already been tried and failed, which leaves only the third. Avivi said that solution number 1, which failed, is allowing the Arabs to have self-rule in Gaza. That has proven to be a disaster. Both the Palestinian Authority and Hamas have shown that they are only interested in terror, and they use their political power, funded by international aid, thanks to UNRWA, United Nations, Europe, and America, to continue their terror war against us. Solution number 2 is a military presence alone. Well, both the Israeli experience in southern Lebanon, as well as the US experience in Afghanistan and Iraq, have been failures. In all 3 of those cases, Israel and the US have ended up pulling out the military because in all of those cases they only had a military presence, which ends up leading to a buildup of deaths and military casualties that the public ends up pressuring the governments to retrieve from. This then leaves us with the only remaining solution, number 3, which is a joint military and civilian presence, as Israel has today in Judea and Samaria. It is our land, so it is very different from a United States, UK, or French occupation of a foreign land that might have military and civilian presence. Here in Israel and Judea and Samaria and Gaza, it's our ancestral land, where all Israelis living there have a strong connection to the land. So having a civilian presence then strengthens the military presence, which then allows for a much better security situation. Hence, that is the only solution for a safe Gaza, a military presence with a return to Jewish resettlement across the Gaza Strip. As I can attest to as an IDF soldier who served in Gaza, Judea, and Samaria back in the early 1990s, before the Oslo peace process, we had both a military and a civilian presence in Gaza before Israel gave land away to be self-ruled by the Palestinian Authority and then Hamas. Back when I served in Gaza, Judea, and Samaria, the only terror we experienced in those areas were Arab Muslims throwing rocks at us. They only received the guns and developed deadly rockets in Gaza to shoot at us after Israel pulled the IDF out of all the Arab areas, the cities. And then the situation got much, much worse after Israel destroyed all the 21 Jewish civilian communities in the Gaza Strip in 2005, making all of Gaza Jew-free. The time has come to re-establish Jewish communities in our land in Gaza, not just because it is our land, but because that is the only solution to victory for this war in Gaza, period. Our enemies launched a war against us. They brutally massacred innocent Jews, including women, babies, and grandmothers, and mutilated them, beheaded them, and burnt them. They are losing the war, and they will lose this war. And then they lose the land. That is the ABC of war. Don't launch a war if you don't want to lose land. And don't mess with the Jews. We are protected by a higher power. Otherwise, we shouldn't even still exist. Yet somehow when it comes to the Jews and every generation having enemies trying to decimate us, we are never allowed to truly win our wars here in Israel. Did you know that Israel liberated the Gaza Strip and the whole Sinai Peninsula back in 1956 when we fought to stop the Egyptian-led terror war against us? Yet, back in 1956, the Western world forced Israel to give the Gaza Strip and Sinai back to Egypt, even though they were the aggressors and we won the war. Then we liberated Gaza and the Sinai once again in the miraculous Six-Day War after Egypt once again declared war against us. And yet again, the world forced Israel to return the Sinai to Egypt during the Camp David Accords, and Egypt didn't want Gaza. So Gaza remained in our control until the world forced us to give it to Palestinian Arab terrorists as part of the Oslo peace process at the beginning of the 1990s. And again today, the world doesn't want to allow us to win. Rather, when we win this war, we will have to allow another Arab international power to rule in Gaza after we win the war. That's insane. That's what the Biden administration is pushing the international community. But believe it or not, I'm not worried, because today the Israeli people will not allow another foreign Arab power to have control in Gaza, because we know that would lead to another terror regime in Gaza. So despite the world pressure, we, Israel, will remain in Gaza, and we will resettle Jewish communities in Gaza. For one simple reason, because we have to. Nobody is moving back to their homes down south if the Arabs will be allowed to remain in Gaza with some type of self-rule. Israeli Jews from down south are too traumatized from October 7th to be gullible that it can't happen again if they're on the other side of the border. It's just that simple. So please help me spread this video so that more people understand why we, Israel, have to stay in Gaza and resettle the area. And believe me when I tell you, the Jewish people's connection to the Gaza Strip goes hundreds of thousands of years. Rabbi Nathan of Gaza wrote the special song Yaribon Jews sing on Friday nights every Shabbat. Jews lived there during Talmudic times with rabbis living there. It's very much part of our land. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Everyone, stay strong, stay firm, pray, pray, pray for our holy IDF soldiers, and remember, Am Yisrael Chai, and spread this video.
Pulse of Israel, frontline videos from the Holy Land. Support our work by donating today.